maybe historically you just could never do satire, and everybody just fooled themselves into thinking about it. Like every single comedian that has done like huge skits has come out and been like, man, you know what? I regret this because people can't engage responsibly with it. You like if I think of like certain like racist or sexist jokes, the reason why these are funny for me is usually because they're ridiculous, because they're horrible, right?
Hmm.
Certain racist, certain sexist, certain homophobic jokes, like, man, that's really funny because you shouldn't say that. It's so stupid. But the problem is when you make these jokes enough, eventually you have people that are laughing at them just because they're like, oh, well, I actually think that's like genuinely funny. Like if you make a joke about like, black people or women, like, oh, like women aren't
Mhm.
people. Like that's a funny joke because obviously women are people. And it's
Wait,
a
you think that's a
shitty
funny
thing to
joke?
say that.
Okay, dude.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, dude.
But then eventually, like all these communities get full of more and more people that are like, oh yeah, like women are shitty. True, actually, yes, they are. Repeal the
Well,
19th, and it's like,
well,
wait,
yeah, it's
what?
like 4chan like 5-6 years ago. Well, 10 years ago. I'm gonna go even beyond that. 4chan used to be like before we had like Poll, which was for most people who don't know, that's like containment board for like the really fucked up shit. If you go onto Poll, it's the same kind of shit, right? Like people jump in and like attack any race. Like they'll make the most absurd shit imaginable, right? Like you'll talk about trans gender people, right? Like on like a normal mainstream platform, and Poll goes fucking insane. But people make jokes like that. It's obviously like an incredibly absurd joke. But Destiny's right. Like it went from like one or two people who were like, this guy, honey, my racist beliefs are being reaffirmed by these guys on 4chan, Right. and it went from one or two people who like actually believe that shit, and then it started to get more
Right.
and
That's
more.
what's scary about
Yeah,
sarcasm. You either attract someone that gets you're funny or someone that actually agrees with you, and it's like, oh god.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
and it's hard to tell the difference sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, every time, like, so if we were to go by like pure Twitter and like the metrics of like the other like liberal streamers on like the platform, you come across as like the biggest fucking demon ever, and that's one of the reasons why I stopped political. Like, I used to watch like a few political debates on like YouTube. Like, I had them up on like a second monitor, and I would just like listen to them from time to time while I was doing like main stuff, right? Just to have like background noise. And it went from like, okay, we can have like an actual discussion to like nobody wanted to like talk about a topic. They just wanted to like be right about something, right? Like they turned a political discourse into like fucking team sports, right? Like there it was never like two people jumped in to have an actual debate. It was like one person just wanted to be right 100% of the time, and like the other person was the bad demon for participating, right? Which is one of the reasons why I have respect for Destiny, because like he'll jump in and talk to people like Jesse Lee fucking Peterson, even though he knows that that's a losing fucking situation. Right, like to engage with certain people, but it's like, hey, like try to get that discourse going versus creating an echo chamber that most Twitch debates are nowadays, right? Like you watch like a 15-person debate panel and it's like, all right, these people just literally have their own, it's like the same exact person 15 times over having a discussion about something that just goes nowhere.
yeah. It's not even like the demonization of other people happens as a result of another thing, which is I think a lot of people don't spend time around a lot of different types of people, so it's very easy to demonize other people because you fundamentally just don't understand where they're coming from. Like whether we could be talking about and like the two sides are just like fundamentally disconnected. Conservatives think that liberals just want to create like baby chop up factories and just like send all of them down these conveyor belts and harvest their body parts for evil satanic rituals. Liberals think that conservatives just want to like force victims and victims to infinitely produce like horrible disfigured babies and then leave them out to rot because they don't believe in healthcare or anything. It's just like nobody has any like. It's always funny because I learned this at an early age, like in high school. Like if you want to argue an argument, if you want to have a conversation about something, you ought to be able to argue both sides very convincingly. Not like here is my argument, and I guess some dumb fuck might say this about this, but like you should be able to give both sides of the argument, such that you could win either side of the argument against like a normal person if they haven't spent a lot of time or invested a lot of time researching it. And a lot of people are just totally fundamentally misunderstanding any other type of person with a different type of view. Because I think the internet has made it really easy for us to self-segregate into these very, very, very isolated bubbles in ways that was never possible before, because you couldn't go online and find the hyper-specific community that you wanted to identify with.
One of my favorite debates on the internet was your debate with Digibro, because I actually knew Digibro before you debated him.
God.
And in your argument, like in your debate, he said that if you argued the Earth was flat and you gave a million like good reasons that the Earth is flat, and he said it's real because I said so, he wins the debate because he's right.
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
It's so funny to me. 'Cause
Is it? I'm just checking. Is it she now or did
I don't know.
they
I
change?
have
I don't
not
remember.
kept up with Digi.
Gotcha. I don't remember if they came out of trans or
I
not,
don't
but
know.
yeah, that was a very painful conversation. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because
I mean, winning that debate was in the eye of the beholder. So you can't just say Destiny won it. Come on now.
A lot of is it called is it a Pyrrhic victory?
The Pyrrhic victory, yeah, when you
is it-
just don't gain anything out of it. Like
Yeah,
you
you win,
but
but you've like destroyed yourself. Like there are a lot of
Yeah.
debates where it's like, did you win? And it's like, yeah, and it's like the Infinity War thing. It's like, what did it cost? Like, everything. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I actually know that word from Total War,
let's go.
the game Total War.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I know that word. Because,
I don't know anything about politics or debate. Just to let you guys know. I'll be here listening though.
Well, every time I watch the debate nowadays, like you argue with so many fucking brain dead people that I'm more interested in the fucking game you're playing in the background. I'm like, oh, he's playing Factorio. Okay, let's just watch that right now. Like I'll listen to it for like 10 minutes, and then the person you're arguing with sometimes can be so painfully fucking brain dead that I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how you can engage with this. What is the stupidest like debate that you personally ever feel like you were part of? Like one that you were just like, man, I wish I could turn back time and not stream today. Like I wish I could just have not been part of this shit. What's that one moment?
I'm a pretty patient person, so usually the really frustrating ones end up being good content, pretty funny. But
Goku versus
man, I don't know. You could ask my
Saitama,
fan
who's
base.
stronger? The ultimate political
Jeez.
debate.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of a guy called No Bullshit?
No.
Oh my god, dude! Please go. So please introduce No Bullshit.
Oh, God.
I know about him.
I don't think I can. I don't know if it's possible to. That's like asking me like, what is it like to peak on LSD? Like, if you haven't done it, if you haven't been there, I don't know how I can convey into words what that
my
experience is like.
So
but,
I,
yeah.
I guess the best way to like introduce no bullshit, like without bullshitting in any ways, he's like one of those like outrage channels on the internet. So there's a big community obviously for outrage merchants, I think, like to just come out. Like Dark Viper termed that whole like the outrage merchant, but basically it's like people who are like they constantly have to find something to be mad about, right? And it starts off like, let's talk about this Marvel show, right? Like this fucking TV show. Like, oh my god, there's this black person in like this, superhero movie. Look at all these woke politics being like dropped in. So they'll introduce like terminology like that. That's where like a lot of these no bullshit type
I
people
looked
start,
at this
right?
channel and
Like
it's
it's just
just the quartering.
there you go.
Well, hold on. No, it's not the quartering because I think this guy makes videos about people besides Brie
Oh,
Larson,
okay,
but
fair
close,
enough,
yeah.
fair enough.
He also uploads like once a year,
Yeah, but then
used
it's
to
gonna
be-
be a
he used
real
to
not
be
12
really-
times a
and
day.
it's gonna be a
Yeah, he
real
used to be
used to
really
upload.
active, but I'm looking at his YouTube metrics, and apparently just over the past like
Short
year, he
women
just
only
stopped.
want to date tall men. Do we have any tall kings in this podcast?
I think most of us are reasonably like okay and
It
How
dep-
tall are you, Nux?
I'm 5'10".
I'm 6'3".
I'm 5'8". Jeez.
Sorry. At least I'm not
Yeah,
the
but
shortest
see,
Wow,
in the
that's
there it
the-
is.
you
Hold
don't
on.
have an
Well, I got my
incel
next
part.
video. Okay. Jesus.
I love
Yo,
how
yo.
you fucking knew that, Caleb, and you had to introduce that.
Yo, Short King, you got this, bro. Don't worry, Short King.
No, but here's the thing, like the fucking, but that is true. Like so there was like a while, like I want to say like 2 months ago, where I like went down that incel rabbit hole because I wanted to see like the incel community, right? And I'm so glad I never touched that community with like a 10-foot fucking pole because it's rabid, like it's filled with some of the. I actually feel kind of bad for some of the people because like when you look into the incel community, like I want to say that like a bunch of them are just guys who like have a really 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 like low self-esteem. Like
I was gonna say
about
bad
themselves,
marriage,
like-
but okay, go off.
well, bad marriage is one thing. Like that's when you get into Coach Red Pill territory. Like I'll only fuck women under age 25 or some shit.
Oh god.
But like no, like really so low self-esteem, and they're always preyed upon by these like weird alpha channels that are like, no, it's not you, dude. It's the fact that your height's not there, or the fact that you're not doing anything. I'm like, guys, you're not entitled to pussy, right? Like you're not entitled to have, like pussy or date or like a partner, right? Like it's just something that you have to develop. You have to have the ability to do it, right? Like if you look at it in the most natural sense, right? Like human beings are supposed to, I guess, find a partner and reproduce and like fucking, bring, like spread their genetics like to the next generation. That doesn't happen automatically, okay? It's like some survival of the fittest shit.
To,
If you're not
to
good
quote
enough,
my man Ethan Klein, women in a nature
God.
setting are there to be conquered. You remember
Oh
he
my
said
God.
that? You don't remember
Did he
said
actually say that?
You-
No, I don't
you
fucking keep
remember
up
he
with
said that?
Ethan Klein, bro.
Dude, I saw
That
it
was-
everywhere.
fuck?
that he's quoted
That
that,
was-
and then there was the you know, the
That was like, yeah, that was back in the
was back in
like old
in the-
The
studio
NF,
podcast
the
era.
NF words with iDubbbz, like that time.
yeah, that was in that
Okay.
age.
Yeah,
That era.
those times for sure. But yeah, no bullshit was the one guy that you were like, I can't debate this fucking asshole.
I mean, I think I had a couple conversations with him, but it was. I'm trying to remember some of the gems from that conversation. One was like, we'll argue like systemic issues in our, criminal justice system, and it'll be like, well, the reason why black people get caught is because when they run around, their guns are hanging out of their pockets. Like there are just like so many gems from these
What?
conversations. Like,
Oh
all
my
right,
god!
I don't know. It was just
How is this a real person?